much trust do you put in polling? Hit us up on X. We'd love to hear from you and find out what you think about your trust of polls lately. But the latest numbers of a survey of likely voters has President Biden supporters on edge. The Washington Post ABC News survey finding former President Trump leads President Biden by 10 points in a hypothetical matchup. This as the current commander-in-chief's popularity has tanked again among voters. And now the Hill reports some Democrats worry their party is becoming far too complacent about President Biden's chances of victory. Niall Stanage, White House columnist for The Hill, you offered this less than sunny piece for the Democratic Party. I think of our recent interview here on NewsNation with California Governor Gavin Newsom. He spoke with Cuomo about how we all need to get on board with President Biden, speaking in glittering terms about his accomplishments and legacy. And it was really charismatic. But was it tone deaf?
Well, clearly, President Biden has a lot of problems. If you look at this poll and others, there's this whole tidal wave of discontent about the economy, about immigration, very widespread concerns about President Biden's age, his approval rating now down in the 30s. So, look, that is not the kind of record or the kind of polling standing that makes people want to jump on board the Biden train if they're Democrats. I think the president's saving grace, in a way, is that there's no very obvious alternative to him, at least among people who are willing to make the race. There's no equivalent to how, for example, then Senator Obama looked in about 2007, early 2008. There's nobody with that magnetism, which ultimately helps Biden.
Are there a lot of pundits who are late to the party when it comes to how much apathy Democratic voters have?
Yes, I think there are. I mean, there has been some coverage about a lack of enthusiasm with some key groups for the Democratic Party, black voters and young voters in particular, not looking that enthusiastic. I think the issue with pundits may be the assumption that former President Trump just can't win. I don't think that's a correct assumption at all. And some of the people who were talking to me for that piece you cited are saying the same thing. People who don't believe Trump can win are being fools. So that's a problem from the Democratic perspective.
Well, is there a problem with the poll? There are some calling out the Washington Post because they appear to downplay their own polling, saying, oh, it's an outlier. Does that mean it doesn't count? Does that mean you shouldn't have asked the question? Does that mean you're now reneging?
It's a kind of wild approach that they took to this. The headline in that poll is very clearly Trump leads Biden by 10 points. They buried the lead in their story on it. And then they also had all these caveats, which basically came across as saying, yeah, we've done this big poll, but didn't come out as we expected, so it's probably wrong. That's not a great approach to take. Now, there are some things in the minutiae of that poll that are questionable. Former President Trump has a big advantage with younger voters, for example. That hasn't been the case either time he ran for election. But the Post's approach to it, the way that poll was portrayed, almost saying, don't worry about this big poll that we just did, that was rather peculiar, to say the least.
OK, what should we do with the numbers? I mean, what can Democratic leaders do to prevent the kind of quiet quitting, so to speak, of their party, who are not only disengaged, but getting drowned out by the voices of extreme progressives?
Well, one element of it is the abortion issue is one that is a strong one for Democrats, with a majority of voters disapproving of Roe versus Wade being struck down. But I think the broader question here, Adrienne, is can Democrats and the White House persuade voters, firstly, that President Biden is vigorous enough to run and complete a second term. That is absolutely pivotal. The other thing is they simply have to do a better job on their economic record. He's way underwater on the economy. He thinks that should be a strong card for him. Voters just don't agree. So that the White House and the Biden team have to figure out a way to change that.
Well, when you look at what happened in Dallas, Texas, where the mayor, even though some say it was a long time coming, who was a Democrat, flipped parties to Republican, Democrats might want to look to the future and policy rather than the past and legacy at this point. Niall Stanage, thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.